Okay, welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Right. Welcome to Kamen Rider Zero-One, episode 41. Out of 45, there is now only 1 month left of Zero-One.
That's a bit insane, right?
I mean, everything is ramping up for the finale, but yeah, it's almost over.
Right, and this is one of those shows where it's like you could put so many arcs between now and the end because there's like so much you can do.
So many characters whose stories could be expanded more.
Oh, dude, there's like way. I mean, like, okay, let's just take Hidan, right? There's like the whole like vice president thing that like, I mean, like that definitely can be expanded, and then like Yua and like her like restructured squad and like guy if we're giving him a redemption arc or whatever.
His dog.
um oh yeah, his dog's adventures. So like guy and his dog and their redemption arc, like how Rogue got redeemed, but that happened like 2/3 of the way through the show, not this close to the end.
And,
um
and like
I
each.
mean, like, I think Fua has mostly done his arc, and Arto can still teach people more stuff. But like the Matsubo Jinrai, like you
Right.
could literally do like another half of the show, or at least a third,
Yeah,
with
like
just the Matsubo Jinrai
each
members.
member could get at least 5 more episodes dedicated to them.
Right, like the whole. That's what I was thinking too, especially with like when Naki showed up, and then she goes to Fua, is like, I don't even know why I'm here, and then she asked Fua the question, and then Fua's like, you already know the answer. I'm like, okay, nice, they have the understanding. Right? It's like you don't need orders. That's basically what Fua's trying to tell Naki. Is like, think for yourself, sort of thing.
Right.
But
Why do
like they,
we exist? You already know that.
right? And it's like you don't need anybody's justification but yourself. So it's like it's a great moment, but it's like, like there's a, like they could be a whole arc with those characters. I mean, not like Naki having to learn from Fua, but just like Fua and Naki bouncing off each other. It'd be
Right.
interesting.
Naki having developed an affinity towards Fua after living inside his brain for a little bit.
Oh, maybe. I was gonna say more like they kind of have like the red oni blue oni dynamic going on, where it's like Fu is kind of the hardhead and like Naki's kind of like the more logical one.
I just mean that Naki sticks around Fua because
Oh
that's
yeah,
all they know. That's they don't know who else to go to.
yeah, that's a good point because like who are they gonna go to? Guy? Like Guy's a piece of shit,
Uh,
right?
so this episode opens up with Metsubo Jinrai in their hideout, wondering why the arc hasn't been sending them any plans. But Hirobi insists that he's just trying to figure out what to do about Zero Two, and that he'll give them their instructions when they're ready. Jin approaches to apologize because he thought that the arc could be defeated if they gave it a form, and he wanted Hirobi to be the vessel that he got defeated in. But that's not what happened, and even with that form being defeated, the arc can be revived so long as his satellite exists. Which he now has satellite there, so um,
I was gonna say it's one of those situations where it's like Hirobi had a plan and then the plan fell apart. I mean, not Hirobi, Jin had a plan and the plan fell apart. Which, like, to be fair, I guess it would kind of work if the arc was like any of the other Humagears, where it's like, oh well, you can't destroy the backup, but like if they download the backup into like a physical body, then you just blow up the body. There's no backup, but it's like,
that's what Jin plan was. But the arc predicted
yeah,
that and had a
right,
backup.
yeah, exactly. And like the arc is not. Humagear, it's like pure AI, so why would it even
Right.
do that? I mean, like,
It was built to control the Humagear and keep them in check, but it went
right.
rogue.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, as like one of the commenters in like one of our recent podcasts said, is like, wouldn't it be interesting if the arc just kept showing up as like a Rewa's villain? I'm like, yeah, it's true because like it's almost unkillable, right? It's just pure AI. Like, there's like a million ways you can figure out ways to like revive
It,
that thing over and over.
it's funny you say that, uh,
Yeah.
because spoilers for Power Rangers Beast Morphers for the next couple of minutes. Uh, the main villain of Beast Morphers, Evox, uh, who is basically this cyber terrorist that downloads himself into a robot body to take over the world. You find out that he's actually the Venjix virus from RPM.
Oh wow,
Uh,
nice.
at the end of RPM, it's implied that like he downloaded himself into one of the Rangers morphers. And in Beast Morphers, you find out that Nate, the guy who built their morphing gear, was experimenting with past Ranger morphers to experiment with like combining animal DNA for extra power. And so he accidentally combined the Venjix virus with snake DNA and created Evox.
I mean, that's a pretty good like tie-in, honestly. Like, that's a lot smarter than the way like most like great leader nonsense happens whenever like Shocker shows up. So I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I mean, like, the other thing is, isn't like RPM in like a whole different like alternate universe thing? But
Yes.
I guess, oh, okay.
So they actually have a couple of crossovers where they contact that universe and talk to Dr. K.
Oh, nice, nice. That's kind of cool. It's good that they're bringing continuity.
Right.
I mean, honestly, then again, they don't have like. I mean, they have years of continuity, but it's not the like Heisei thing of like, well, there's like 20 years of continuity plus alternate universes going on, so it's probably a lot easier.
Beast Morphers does like make some throwbacks to previous series like RPM. They do some stuff with like Dino Charge. Um, Even without the crossover, they like use technology and stuff that was used in Dino Charge. And there's this one fight scene where like the Rangers' gear doesn't work. So they just grab a bunch of legacy gear from the vault that past Rangers used.
Oh man, that's clever. Um, that's kind of cool too. Isn't that the what is Beast Morphers based off of Go
Go
Busters?
Busters.
Yeah, that probably explains why. Because yeah, that's fair. I mean, like the whole virus thing, I guess makes sense because it's Go Busters.
Right. Go Busters' main villain was also like some kind of virus.
Right. I mean, like, isn't like Enter like the most like the best thing about Go Busters?
That depends on who you ask. Some people really don't like his fake French accent.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
But yeah, Enter was like the real villain as opposed to Messiah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that.
But the best thing about Go Busters, no, he was not. Because the best thing about Go Busters was Jin and Jay.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
B
forgot
and
about them.
Stagbuster.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of how the slow pacing Go Busters had, the show was already deemed a failure before they were introduced.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I guess they kind of led to Balance and Naga. Like, they established the trope, and then Balance and Naga kind of perfected it, even though they kind of like play off it a little differently.
right.
So yeah, I mean, like the point is they were so good that they fucking established like a Sentai trope, right? So that's impressive.
So back to Kamen Rider Zero-One. Um, Jin proposes that like, hey, he and Naruto might be able to stop the arc. To which Hirobi's like, no, 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 no. That guy destroys human gear, but he didn't. He didn't destroy Ikazuchi. He literally kicked the arc out of him.
Yeah, that's a pretty good argument. Like honestly, I really like how Matsubo Jinrai has kind of evolved into like, oh, this is the like chamber of Humagear. Basically, it's like all the kind of the different Humagear points where it's like Jin is like, hey, maybe we could kind of coexist, and Hirobi is like, fuck that shit.
No, it's our
Um,
job to destroy human gear,
right, or not Humagear, humanity.
humanity. And Jin is like, but working for the arc is no different than working for humans. We should be free. To which
Right.
Inaki asks, like, what lies beyond freedom?
Right, where it's like Naki and Ikazuchi kind of have like a slightly opposite thing where it's like Ikazuchi clearly doesn't like give a shit about the like more philosophical stuff. He's like, all right, can I even go back to just being a regular person
Right,
because
like,
of what I've done?
just give
And
me a
then
job.
right, and then whereas Naki is
Naki,
like, what the hell am I good for now?
like, what do you mean dream? Like, I don't have a dream. What do I do with myself? What is my purpose?
Yeah. Um it's interesting. That's what I was saying. Like honestly, if the show had like I don't know, at least one more arc where it's like it's just the Matsuba Jinrai team just talking it out
Right.
about different philosophy, I totally watch it because
Like,
like at that point it just turned into sort of like O's because that's pretty much what the greed did.
and, like, even with just the stuff we've gotten, this is how you do characters switching sides.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, like it's this is really well done. If you want to switch sides kind of fast, you can kind of do the Tokuger thing where it's like everybody kind of has their own plan. They just happen to be on the wrong guy's side, and like every
Right.
once in a while, they're like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go to the other side for now."
Oh,
It's like,
man.
well, that didn't work. I'm back here now.
But, like,
Yeah, Tokuger is
Tokuger's
interesting.
villains are great.
Yeah, but I think like Matsubo Jinrai, I think does a better job. Like Matsubo Jinrai is a better Lucky Clover than Lucky Clover ever was,
Oh, easily.
right? Because they've got like the threat level of Lucky Clover, but they also have like enough distinct personality where it's like, all right, they kind of have to listen to what the arc has to say. But like even then, they're still like they're questioning just enough of like, well, maybe we should go free, but then also maybe we should stay the course, right? So like if one side you have Lucky Clover who is like, well, they should have been these guys, but they weren't, and then the other side is the greed, which is just this turned up to 11, right? Like I think this is a good mix for like bad guys.
And so Hirobi and Jin's argument escalates into a fight between them. An excellent fight. Second best in the episode.
I know, right? This episode has good fights.
Uh,
Like I also love how like there's like so many different mixes of fights where it's like okay, it's like one on one in the suit, one on one without the suit, two on one rider action. Like it's interesting. So that also is nice, especially considering the two on one against the arc isn't a close in fight like we've gotten the last couple episodes, so it also feels different.
and so Hirobi wins the fight and is ready to finish Jin off when Jin asks, hey, is killing me what you want, or is it the will of the Ark? And Hirobi starts to answer that it's the will of the Ark before realizing, like, no, the Ark didn't give me instructions. And then he walks off to go and contemplate his own desires.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like Hirobi has kind of this one thing of like, hey, he's gonna attack someone, and then somewhere it's gonna ask him a question, and then it triggers a thing. So that's a little formulaic, but I'm like, for such a like combat focused person as Hirobi, I guess that's the only thing that makes sense,
In
right? Because like they tried talking to him outside of combat, and like he just cuts them off, and he's basically like, I'm the loyal soldier of the arc, pretty much, the whole
and
time.
this whole scene just signifies Hirobi having reached singularity and his own humanity. It's like he got mad that Jin was shit talking the arc, and when Jin asked him that question, Hirobi started to give his default answer before realizing that it was incorrect. He's a machine. He would already have the data to know that, like, no, this is not the will of the arc, but he instinctively started to say that it was.
Right. So it's basically like dogma at this point, which is like robots don't need dogma, right? So it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Like the fact that they're machines helps with like the quick switch around, because they're like, okay, right, this information contradicts what I've been told. Change of plans, right? And that's kind of Hirobi's thing. Also, is like he's the one who learns. I mean, like the arc is more like I'm the one who predicts, but Hirobi is the one who learns. So it's kind of nice.
So, on the other side of things, Hida Intelligence, the vice president is asking uh, Guy to reinstate human gear. With all the damage that the arc is causing, there's not enough emergency services to help everyone in danger. But there would be if they had human gear. However, Guy refuses. He cannot reinstate the human gear. He's the one that decommissioned them. So, counter offer, he resigns from being president of Hida Intelligence and names Aruto his successor.
See, this is like some corporate nonsense, but like I can kind of see his point of view.
It's like he's still got his pride to think about.
Well, it's not even that. It's the whole thing of like, well, we switch presidents, therefore the next president can make any decisions that contradict me, because that's what presidents do, right? Like the whole point of changing a president is like the new guy will do things differently. So like corporate logic, like if like Hidan's new president does like a 180 for its previous president, it's like, well, that's just kind of a given. That's how the corporate world sort of works. Well, I mean, like usually they don't do like a 180, but they definitely shake things up. Um, so like I can kind of buy guys' logic,
Oh yeah, I totally
but
understand it.
there's like a bit of pride in there too.
There's pride. Uh,
Yeah. Also, like at least he did the smart thing of like, hey, I can't fix this. I'm gonna find the guy who can. Here, you fix it. Right. So like, it's not like a huge thing, but like baby steps. Right. Like
right.
he's not complete trash now.
And you get the gag where Guy points to Aruto, but the vice president thinks that he's pointing to him, so he's like, "Oh man, I don't know if I'm ready for this."
That like, okay, normally I'd be like, all right, that kind of works, but I'm like, there's no way he could have pointed to Arto and hit the vice president like that. Like Arto was so far to the fucking left.
And like, Siesta behind him was also pointing to Aruto.
Yeah, like Siesta I can kind of see because Siesta's on the side, but it's like, right, like guys clearly pointed to the vice president, and then like, oh, the scene changed, and it's like, oh no, I was actually pointing to that guy. I'm like, oh, that should have been shot a little better, but yeah, this
It's
guy,
fine.
it's fine. Um, it's I love the music cue of like Siesta's like, no, not you, right? That was so good. Um, but it's also weird that like by this point I think like the vice president would totally be like ready to be in charge, but like it also, so that's a little weird, but when he like
He
steps
was
aside,
being humble.
yeah, that's fair. I can kind of see that too. Also, when he steps aside and like when Arta shows up, is like, yeah, I was just waiting for you and stuff, and like that's such a genuine moment where it's like, all right, like they've kind of grown like a respect for each other. That was pretty well done.
Or it could be that, he's being handed the company during a crisis. He's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to handle something of this magnitude.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like technically, you could just go to Arto and ask him what to do, but like pride, I guess, would stop
Yeah,
him.
why would the president of Hidden Intelligence be going to the disgraced president?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the vice president's gone through an arc that he wouldn't think like that, but there's a chance he still would.
So Aruto makes a public statement about reinstating the human gear to deal with the threat of the arc. And you get a shot of all the different members of Metsubo Jinrai hearing it out. And so, like, Ikazuchi returns to the other robot that helped work on Satellite Zaya. Like, Naki goes and asks Fuwa, like, what's my purpose? Why do I exist? Uh, you get a montage of like human gear being reinstated, like medical human gear, hospitals, and firemen, and all that stuff. Just really powerful moments.
Yeah, I do like it's the old human gear we've seen before, and they come back and like especially like the firefighter one where it's like make sure you save everyone. Like, oh right, that's what you learned.
The
I'm like that was cool. Um,
the contractor and his Sentai team.
yeah, I can't believe we showed them. Oh man, those guys, that was pretty great. Um, yeah, like Ikazuchi going back to Subaru, that was pretty nice. And we already talked about Naki and Fua, that was pretty nice too. Like the one thing when it keeps cutting back to Jin is like, all right, this is like the one person in this show who doesn't take a shower between scenes. Cause like he keeps getting dirtier and dirtier, and like everybody else, like they get their ass kicked in like next fight. Okay, like Arto's like walking around with a couple bandages and like maybe a ripped hoodie, but even that's gone by
Jin's a
the end of
method
this.
actor.
Oh man, so true. Like Jin's freaking great, but I'm like, yeah, that's the one thing I noticed. I'm like, fucking everybody goes back to wearing like nice clothes, even though they keep getting their ass kicked. Like Jin's the one who looks like he just fucking walked out of a goddamn jail cell, which kind of makes sense for his like aesthetic that he's going with now. Like I guess he's like punished Jin at this point. If we're going by like the Kojima trope, still weird that like Subaru needs like a human type spacesuit. I'm like, why? You're a robot. You don't even need air.
It could be for other purposes.
Yeah, I guess
I
so.
don't
It's
know
probably
what,
also
but
because it's the
oh,
Forze ones and they're just reusing them.
they would definitely need the attachment cords so that they don't just drift off into nothingness.
Yeah, but it's more the yeah, it's a good point. It
And
looks more like they're like air supply and stuff, but you're right. It could be for machinery and stuff.
it could also be that like the suits are also actually equipped for like radio communication, whereas the human gear aren't.
Yeah, that's possible. Anyway, Toei
So,
reusing stuff. It's fine.
so the scene culminates in a family in a nearby park with children, and across the street on top of a building is Hirobi contemplating shooting at them.
Dude, this is like for a second I'm like maybe he's gonna do it, but I'm like, all right, this is like a family, and maybe Huagi are there too, and Jin's about to like just fucking go like straight up goddamn school. Well, I was gonna say school shooter, but more like just up a straight up like mass murder. And I'm like, Sunday morning mass murder. I'm like, okay, Toei is probably not gonna do that, but I'm like, I don't know, man. They could chance it at this point if they want to really turn him into a villain.
Uh,
Yeah, that was insane. Luckily he didn't do that.
yeah, Jin interrupts him, pleading for Hirobi to think for himself and decide what he wants on his own. But then the Ark finally contacts Hirobi with instructions. Uh, the Ark has rendered his verdict. All humans and Humagear must be eliminated. Humagears are no longer needed.
See, I knew this was gonna happen because there's no way you tell a story about AI and then it just going like, yeah, minions don't need them, right?
Like this
And
this is a powerful moment because while the Ark was built to control and maintain the Humagear, he does not care for them at all. They were just tools, and now they are tools that are no longer needed.
yeah, I mean, oh shit, oh yeah, I'm like this reminds me of something. I'm like, oh right, Agito, where it's like the man in black is like, you know what, fuck humanity, right? Like I can't fucking waste my time dealing with these Agitos. Like, fuck them
Like,
all.
all right, if
Just kill them all, and then I'll just redo humanity all
all right,
over again.
the Agitos were one thing, but if regular humans are gonna punch me in the face, now we have a problem.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Right? Like that's honestly his breaking point. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, all right, the
You,
Agitos, I don't care. They're assholes anyway. But you, like, oh, fuck this. All of you die now.
that's it, ending the world.
I know, right? Oh man, fucking Agito blowing up his humanoid form is so worth it after shit like that.
Oh, it's so
You know,
good.
Ryder kicking God so hard he explodes.
Go watch Agito, people.
Yeah. Don't get hung up on what the hell happened on the Akatsuki. But besides that, go watch Agito.
The Ark possesses Hirobi again, and we get a neat fight in Hugh civilian form between the Ark and Jin. Arto somehow sensed this was happening and shows up to the battle.
He's got main character abilities, bro.
It's the one thing I don't understand about this episode, but I'm willing to let slide because everything else is so amazing.
Because I'm like, normally you could be like, well, Satellite Thea told him where to go, but I'm like, Satellite Thea is gone. Yeah, you're right. He just shows up.
Anyways,
He's got like a spider sense, but it's just like, oh, the arc's up to something.
my human gear senses are tingling.
It's true. At this point, like, yeah, why not? He's just been like mind melding with the satellite Thea for too long. It's like you can just sense it. So way more connected to fucking Agito than we wanted to think.
So as the Ark is about to finish off Jin, Arto rushes in, pleading for Hirobi to not do it and to think for himself and decide what he wants. And it works. Hirobi contemplates his own will and overpowers the Ark, taking control of his body. Why destroy the Humagears?
Right, that's a good point. Considering like one, they've been loyal, two, or neutral, and three, like maybe some of them have been evil, but like you can just take over the evil ones,
Right, like
or
Hirobi.
the ones in opposition to you. I mean,
Hirobi was under the impression that the Ark was waged raging war against humans for the benefit of Humagear. And now he's finally realized that that was never true. The Ark just hated humanity. The Humagear were just a tool. He was never fighting for the Humagear.
right. So this is pretty much like he thought the arc was Magneto, but it turned out it was Apocalypse. Because Apocalypse doesn't give a fuck as long as you follow him. That's all he cares. Like he'll kill anyone. Whereas Magneto is like, no, I'm gonna try to save the mutants. So like, yeah, Hirobi is now Magneto, I guess.
Yes, pretty much.
Pretty much. And
So,
Jin's, I guess, like Professor. I don't know, but the point is, Hirobi is not Magneto.
excuse me. Uh, so Hirobi forces the Ark out of his body, and so the Ark possesses the vulnerable Jin. Uh, and so Hirobi is, uh, having betrayed him, the Ark is going to eliminate Hirobi first as part of the new mission to eliminate human gear.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel really bad for Jin. Like, how many times has he been taken over? Like, at least 4 times now.
Right?
Like, he can't catch a break. It sucks. But like, at least Hirobi fights to save him this time, so that's cool.
Well, not exactly. Because when yeah, Hirobi has this great moment of human gears are the true masters of this planet. You're the one who should be destroyed, Ark. Hirobi was just trying to destroy the Ark.
Well, he did say like, let's go save Jin to
Oh,
Arto before the fight begins.
yeah, you're right. He does, and he does
So
say that human that is Metsubo Jinrai's and my will. So yeah, he is officially separated Metsubo Jinrai from the Ark.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not great that he wants to kill all the humans, but I'm like, hey, at least he's not on Team Arc anymore.
Right, so we get the best fight, possibly in the show. Team up between humans and human gear, heroes and villains.
It's definitely a good fight. I mean, like honestly, like all the fights in this episode are really good, but like, yeah, this was different, especially considering like the different speeds going on, where it's like Arto's kind of doing this like Kabuto thing of like attacking fast, whereas like Hirobi is just like carefully calculated like counter moves. So that's pretty cool.
And at the end, uh, with the Ark defeated, he can still come back so long as he exists in the satellite. So up in space, Ikazuchi and the other one separate the breaking mammoth portion, the battle portion of satellite there, from the portion that the Ark is now in control of.
Yeah,
Ikazuchi
and blow it up.
destroys the satellite.
I'm like, didn't you just blow up Thea too? But I'm like, I guess Izu has part of Thea, so
Yeah.
maybe not. But like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, why aren't you just calling out down your damn battle weapon to blow up the arc? But I'm like, I guess it needs to be separated because otherwise it wouldn't like you would have to decouple it for it to transform into its mech form, and that's what they did. So that's clever.
See you in hell,
See
Ark.
you in hell. I know that's such an Ikazuchi thing. It was freaking great. Man, it's also kind of interesting too. I thought like the arc was gone. I'm like, wow, that's an interesting way to end the episode. Like everybody kind of has a part in it, but it's like ultimately it's like Ikazuchi who gets the final kill, which makes sense because like it's like a team effort and everything. But I'm like, huh, that's an interesting way to end it until preview. But
Right, but first, so yeah,
yeah,
Hirobi thanks Aruto because he has now realized what his dream is. His dream is to destroy humanity. Because so long as human malice exists, the possibility of another arc being created is too high. And if another arc is created, it will inevitably want to destroy the human gear. So, in,
right. That's an interesting point. I wonder if that's leading up to a movie or something where it's like somebody else will make the arc, and then like Hirobi, if he survives, will try to help them stop it again. Maybe turn good. Sorry, I cut you off. Were you gonna say something?
no, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Um.
In
It.
order
it
to uh, preserve human gear, humanity must be destroyed.
I mean, I can kind of see his logic where it's like humanity can always just build another AI to fuck with them or any control system. So it's like to be 100% clear, we have to get to eliminate the humans. But I'm like, that's kind of a point of where it's like, well, like you don't really have to kill all the humans or like any other humans. Like, there's no such thing. Like, I think Jin kind of realized that like there's no 100% guarantee of anything. So it's like going to that extreme doesn't solve anything. But I guess like Hirobi still has to learn that. Um, then again, like he might be the final villain, so he might not learn that.
And so, next episode preview. Hirobi is now the final antagonist. Or is he? The arc isn't done yet.
Yeah, I'm starting to think I'm getting sick of fucking white writers because like it's like at this point they're sort of kind of going. Maybe it's just reflect on Evolved, where it's like, God damn it, man, just fucking stay dead, right?
Never!
But I'm like, pretty much. Oh man. Okay, as long as we don't get a fucking side movie where we turn the arc into an anti-hero,
God, I
like,
hate that. I hate that Cross movie so much.
well, that's not true. Like, Kerberos is great, but
Cross.
yeah,
Uh, the Bonjo movie where Evolt became an anti hero.
I know. Like, Evol's brother is freaking great,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The one good thing
but
about that movie.
everything else is straight trash in that movie. Oh man, like for God's sakes, like okay, you want to redeem Hirobi? We
Right.
kind of have a chance.
I, I, for,
Arc, no.
I forgot that Evolt's brother was named Kilvis or something.
Yeah, yeah, Kilvis. Sorry. Um, or Kerberos, whatever. The point is, he existed. Interesting character. Shit movie. But yeah, like if the arc comes back, I just wanted to do the great leader thing of like, all right, I'm the bad guy again. Just fucking defeat me. You know, like don't try to turn it good. Like Hirobi, you could probably redeem if you really wanted to, but like the arc, probably not. But then again, we fucking redeemed Guy somehow. Like, all right, at this point, Guy just disappear out of the show, right? Unless you're gonna be in like the final battle assisting, like just get the hell off off the screen. Like you're no longer needed. Okay, unless Guy defeats this new arc somehow, like he comes up with the plan. I guess that
I
might.
would still dislike
Yeah,
him, but
I would
at
still
least
dislike
he
him.
cleaned up his mess.
Right, at least he helped a little bit, you know.
He
Um,
created the arc, so I'd be okay if he destroyed it.
right. Um, like he'd still be a piece of shit for the most part, but like at least he's trying. So
And that would
that would
actually
be
work
something.
well. Have Guy destroy the arc and have Aruto face off against Hirobi. Because they got that thing about surrogate fathers, so it's more of a connection between them.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Which I'm like the kind of other problem is like, well, then what the hell does the rest of like Matsuba Jinrai and Fua and Yua do? Because like they haven't been doing jack shit. Like even in this episode, Arto is the one who's like out there helping civilians, and like Fua and Yua for the most part are.
Well, currently
Well, I guess
not.
like Fua is technically coordinating stuff, but like Yua's just in the hospital. Maybe she's
Currently,
helping.
Naki
Yeah.
is a blank slate, so Hirobi could pick them up.
I don't think so. Like, I honestly hope not because that'd be like too much of the same storyline repeated. Right. Like we already did that, like break free from the evil controlling asshole, or like humanity is not your enemy. Like we've done that like at least twice. Like I don't want to do it again with Naki, especially considering Naki is a writer. Like let them at least get some fights in, right? And like I don't want them to be the villain because like the point is that point they're just gonna get destroyed, right? Because like Naki's strong, but like everybody's kind of in their final form. At which point, like okay, who's the expandable one? I mean, like expendable one. It's like, of course, the villains, right? Like, 'cause the heroes aren't gonna lose this close to the end.
So, next episode preview. Someone whose face I don't recognize seems to be communicating with Jin about, hey, let's destroy Hirobi. So I
Yeah,
think,
that's what I saw too. I'm like, who is this
yeah, so I
person?
think we're finally gonna find out who rebuilt him after Aruto destroyed him.
Yep, it just took till like almost the end, but like I guess better late than never.
Uh, and then we have the moment we've been talking about since episode 1, but was hoping would never actually happen.
Well, it's not in episode one, is it? I think it's like the second intro started having this with the time freeze Izu thing. I don't remember if it was in the original.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Izu getting destroyed.
Mm, yeah, that's a good point. I, God
Un-
damn it!
uh,
Like, I mean, for what? No, that's not true. Izu doesn't have a backup.
I was about to say, unlike other human gear, Izu doesn't have a backup because she contains confidential information for
Information.
the company.
Yeah. The problem also becomes is like I see why Thea or not Thea Arc would target Izu because like that's the last remnant of Thea left. In which case, like Izu's too powerful, so you have to take her out of the equation. But it's like I really don't want her to get damaged or killed or anything. It's like, all right, if she dies and we rebuild her, then she just becomes another Poppy, and it's like, what the fuck was the point of killing her? But like, also like, what's the point of killing her at this point? Like, it's just kind of mean.
There is one factor that I don't know if it's going to come into play or not. Azu.
Yeah, I I know that character exists, but it's like,
She hasn't been relevant. Yeah, she did
yeah,
one thing in a side episode.
and it's like I guess we can bring her in, but it's like this really the time. I'm like, okay, fine, but like, okay, here's the other thing. Like, if Azu exists, like I can at least see Izu sort of coming back. But if she doesn't, then it's like, okay, shit. Izu is in more danger because like she could actually end up dead. Because like at this point, nobody's fucking died in the show, and like the writer can kind of has this thing of killing characters off. But then again, they also have this thing of like nobody ever stays dead. So we'll see. Hopefully, she lives. But then again, like Zero Two's ability is to be able to like separate Humagear and the Arc, so maybe she'll be fine. I don't know. It's gonna be rough. That next episode. Hopefully she doesn't die though. Anyway, that's all I got. This was a good episode.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow to do the Sentai podcast that we missed yesterday. Thanks for joining.